Good morning, everyone. Dr. Tam and Rocky here, and today we have a special episode where we will be answering comments from YouTube, Facebook, questions about our videos, about how to be healthier, on how you can increase your function, and of course, prolong your longevity. Here we go, Rocky. What do we got today?
Yeah, so good morning, everyone. And just like what Dr. Tam said, we are going to be answering your questions about our videos. And, let's start with the
Yeah.
first one. Now, this video was actually our video about intermittent
Okay.
fasting and high blood
Mm.
pressure. So the first question is it really necessary to remove salt from your diet when you have high blood
See,
pressure?
that's the misnomer that it's a myth where people think, oh, it's all about the salt. It's all about the salt. See, blood pressure is way more than just the salt. We need salt in our body. Approximately 2,400 milligrams is what we actually need. So when you actually take salt out of the diet, what happens is that it creates an imbalance between your cells inside the cell wall and your blood outside the cell wall as well. So it's not just salt, you need salt because a lot of people who don't have enough energy when they're doing a certain diet, I said, put a little pinch of salt underneath your tongue. You're losing minerals when people are cutting out salt. What people don't realize is that it's actually the refined sugars causing the inflammation, right? Thickening the blood vessels, causing clogging of the blood vessels. Now your heart has to pump harder, right? Did you know that for every pound you gain in your body, you approximately gain about 1 mile in blood vessels? 1 pound to
Wow.
1 mile, right? Because now your heart has to
Right.
supply that extra mile of blood vessels inside your body. That's why blood pressure starts to go up. It's not due to salt, it's due to a
Right.
demand to push blood through the body.
Okay. Well, next one. Can I do intermittent fasting even though I was diagnosed with
Well,
hypertension?
usually you want to check with your doctors first. There's no doubt about that. But I don't see any
Of
problems with
course.
it. See, a lot of times how I tell people to do intermittent fasting, you don't just go from eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner to, oh, you know what, today I'm just going to start with lunch and dinner. Boom, you just, you try to cold turkey your breakfast. I tell people this. I say, if you want to start doing intermittent fasting, let's say on a regular day you eat at 8 a.m., right? So instead of 8 a.m.
Right.
breakfast, go to 8:30 or 9. The following day, go to 9:30. Following day, go to 10 or 10:30. All the way until you can get to 11. Because by the time you can get to 11, heck, you might as well do 12 o'clock, right? Our lunch in the
Right.
office is not until 1 o'clock. And I've just gotten
Hmm.
accustomed to eating at 1. I eat at 1, I eat around 7:30 again. So I'm eating it within about a 6.5 to 7 hour window each
Yeah.
day. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And we actually did a video. If you haven't already, you can go ahead and watch that. It talks about, the proper way of doing intermittent fasting. So there's another question about that. And is it true that intermittent fasting can make my blood pressure become normal?
Well, here's the thing. The reason it's not so much just intermittent fasting make your blood pressure normal is that part of what intermittent fasting is doing is that it's helping your body detox while you're not eating, right? It's allowing your body
Right.
to generate new cells, better cells, healthier cells, and it gives your gut, your stomach lining, just a break from eating. Okay. That's why
Hmm.
breakfast is called breaking
Hmm.
the fast because you have to break the fast.
The
See?
fast, right?
So
Hmm.
indirectly, absolutely it can help. right? Because people who are doing intermittent fasting, usually who have the discipline to do it, are also eating healthier as well. They're not putting junk
Yeah.
food in their body. They're putting healthy things into their body and allowing the body to do what it needs to do. A lot more vegetables, right? I talk about 7 to 10 cups of vegetables per day. If you're not doing that, well, then your liver is going to suffer, your blood pressure, hypertension, all of that. So intermittent fasting is just part of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle here.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And of course, when you're doing the intermittent fasting, just like what Dr. Tam said, there's going to be a window, right? Like your feast time. And a lot of reviewers are actually complaining about getting those headaches because of not eating, right? So, how can they manage their headaches
Well,
better?
so you don't necessarily want to not eat to the point, maybe to the point where you get a headache. Maybe you're suffering from low sugar, right? Your body hasn't adapted yet. So during those times, or just not enough food or calories, look at a few things. Make sure you're drinking enough water, number one, right? I always have a bottle of water next to me, right? You see that it's even open, so I don't have to pop it open all the time. So I can
Yeah.
just sip on it at any time. But you stay hydrated. Make sure that you have 7 to 10 cups of vegetables. You're eating good source of protein, very healthy fats, right? You're not putting just junk into your body. So you got to fuel your body correctly. And if you still get hungry or get a headache, maybe snack on pecans, walnuts, almonds, things and that
Yeah.
are like really high in protein, but not high in sugars, right? So you have to really look
Hmm.
at
Hmm.
why you are getting those headaches to begin with. Is it just, lack of calories? Are you not getting enough rest? What is it? So you got to get to the root cause of it.
Or
And water,
water.
hydrate, right? hmm
Yeah. Right. Okay. Speaking of water, Dr. Tam, we just did a hydration video, and we have some questions about isotonic water. So, what do you know about drinking isotonic water or salt
hmm
water? How much should I consume per day? And can I replace all my water intake to salt
Well,
water?
here's the thing is that part of the water should have some electrolytes if you're working out very hard,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you're just drinking pure water, that's okay. But if you're sweating throughout the day, you need to replenish your water source, your blood, with some electrolytes. That's where adding a pinch of pink salt to water can also really help. Isotonic water,
Mm-hmm.
it really depends on where it's coming from. Some of them, have higher pH, right? Some have a lot of electrolytes. So here's what I think. If you are working out really hard, you should drink some water with electrolytes. It's not necessary when you're not sweating profusely, right? So that's kind of my take on it.
Right.
Is it necessary? No, but could it be? Yeah, for some people.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. And another question that we have is it possible to lower your blood pressure by diet
Oh,
alone?
I 100% believe it that you can, right? With the right diet, it's been documented, thousands and thousands of studies of documentation. Of course, you have to do it safely, talk to your doctor about it if they prescribed you medications on it. But even your doctor, most medical doctors, when they say, hey, here's a medication, this should really be temporary, go ahead and change your diet. And most will say, when your blood pressure drops below or becomes normal again, we can take you off the blood pressure medication, right? Talk to your doctor before you change any medication, but huge, tons of research on how food not only can it help with blood pressure. I mean, gosh, the reason people have diabetes is because food was a problem to begin with, right? So if you can change your food, can you get healthier? Yeah, I think so. Absolutely. Without a shadow of a doubt. Absolutely.
And would you tell us the difference between intermittent fasting and long
Sure,
fasting? Is there a
sure.
difference? And,
Well, long-term fasting is just having a longer period of time of fasting, right? There are some benefits to the intermittent fasting, well, there's a lot of benefits to intermittent fasting where you only eat within the same amount of window. Then the longer term fasting is usually when people start doing like one meal a day. It's also called as OMAD, OMAD, where people sometimes just for a cleanse, I do it about once a week or so, where I just eat one meal a day, where I have dinner and I don't eat again until the following dinner. Let the body flush out whatever toxins you have. Stay hydrated. Put some salt in the water so you're getting all the electrolytes that you need. So you do have energy, right? There are some studies
Right.
that show um, multiple day fasting can also be good for you, right? Where people are on a water fast for, 1, 2, 3 days or whatnot. Of course, you have to make sure that it's safe for you, right? Not everyone could just jump to like a 2 day water fast, you know? I personally have done
Yeah.
like the master cleanse where I'm drinking this master cleanse concoction for about 7 days. I've done that, right? Because I wanted to see what it's like so I can tell people about it. When people ask me about it, patients ask me, I can say, oh, yeah, that's something I've done. Here's some of the benefits I've seen, right? It's mainly to clear the gut and to detox your liver. That's what it really comes down to.
Right, of course. And speaking of OMAD, Dr. Tam, um, it is it normal for someone who is doing OMAD or IF or
Mhm.
keto to have a BP shoot up?
Sometimes when you stress your body initially, your blood pressure, right, your BP can start going up. Intermittent fasting, when you do one meal a day or to change diet, anytime there's a change, it could be a stressor to your body. So you may see initially blood pressure going up a little bit, but that also means that, well, maybe you got to meditate a little bit more. Maybe you have to make some changes to what you're doing to ensure that your body is not
Mhm.
getting extra stress. Well, because sometimes if you get extra stress, what happens is that also means your adrenals are shot as well. That can cause
Right.
extra stress to your body, which then can lead to higher blood pressure.
Right. It's like your body's still getting used
Right,
to it.
right, right,
So,
right. Yeah.
right. Okay. And is it okay to have a good amount of complex carbs with high blood
Well,
pressure?
complex carbs, you always rather have complex carbs than simple carbs, right? Simple carbs are your pancake cookies, sugary drinks, sodas, juices. Complex carbs are usually more based on vegetables, you see, and that's what complex carbs is,
Yeah.
or like quinoa, you know, or sprouted wheat, things like that are more complex. It takes a lot more time to digest in your body, has a lot more fiber, a lot more nutrients. That's what makes it complex. I 100% believe if you're going to have carbs, you got to have complex carbs. Don't have those sugar simple
The
carbs.
right carbs.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. Okay. All right. And our second to the last question, Dr. Tam. Is it okay to take my BP medicine while I'm doing
Well,
IF?
here's the thing is medication should be taken with the agreement with your medical doctor, and it should be also taken off with an agreement with your medical
Absolutely.
doctor, right? So if you're taking high blood pressure medications and that's something you want to bring up to your medical doctor and see, like, hey, is intermittent fasting good for me? Right? Is that something I can try? And have them look at it, see if they are willing. I think that a lot of patients should talk to their doctors a little bit more to see if their doctors are willing to just take a look at what their patients are doing. One of the big problems
Right.
is doctors sometimes don't feel like they don't have the time or feel like they don't have the knowledge to look at the
Mm-hmm.
nutrition aspect, right? But as a doctor, you should, it's our obligation, a responsibility, really, to make sure that your patients are doing the right thing, that you give them the best answer possible. Because that's why it makes us specialists, is that we specialize in this, right? It's like you wouldn't go to
Mm-hmm.
a plumber to ask a mechanic problem on your car, right? So if you go to a
Right.
mechanic to ask a question about a car, you expect a educated question or an educated answer, right? And if you
Answer,
don't know
yeah.
that, you should at least find out, right? Find out, learn something. Just because you went to us
Yeah.
doctors went to years of school, like almost a decade of school, don't mean that we can't continue learning. That's what I love doing.
And right, right. Okay, and our last question, Dr. Tim, is it? So I'm already taking my meds. I'm doing IF. Why is my BP still not going down?
Well, blood pressure is not as simple as just eating healthy. You have to put in some exercise into it. But here's also the other thing. As we get older, naturally our blood pressure is supposed to be a little bit higher. I mean, here's why. As we
Yeah.
get older, our blood vessels are not as flexible. Would you say that a young person's blood vessels are a little bit more flexible and expanding and contracting than someone who's older? Naturally, yes,
Absolutely not.
right?
Yeah.
So if you look at physics and there's, say if it's not as expandable, which means that it stays tight, right? That also means that the
Yeah.
heart naturally has to pump a little bit harder to get blood to your feet than compared to when you were 20 years old. Compare a 60 to 20-year
20
old.
years old.
You can't expect, okay, truthfully, you cannot expect a 20-year-old to have the same exact blood pressure as a healthy 60-year-old. It's impossible. Heck, in our cars, we put different oils in there, right?
Yeah.
You know, we treat things differently everywhere else, but somehow we expect our bodies to function the same from womb to tomb, right? From birth to death.
Mhm.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, you should always have 120 over 80. Really? What about these kids who have heartbeats that are racing? Is that normal? When you check a baby's
Yeah.
pulse, it's like 90s or in the low 100s. I mean, they're dying? No. That's just what their heart is supposed to beat at. You see, when you're 20, yeah, maybe 120, 125 over 80 to 85 is good. But as you get older, you are supposed to have a little bit higher because you have to pump through. You know what happens to a lot of people who take high blood pressure medications and it ends up being too low?
Mhm.
Here's some signs,
Mhm.
and I want people to know this. They start getting dizzy. They start losing their balance. You don't have enough blood to your brain, right? You start losing your balance,
Yeah. Yeah.
blurry vision, okay? And before you know it, your energy levels start dipping because you don't have enough oxygen to the rest of your body. They don't have strength in their
Mhm.
legs. They start losing blood flow to their legs. So let's just say they get a cut, and now the cut doesn't heal because you don't have enough blood flow down there because you're taking high blood pressure medications.
Mhm.
Is it possible? That's possible. Not saying that it happens to everybody, but that's what can happen if your blood pressure is too low. See, some doctors will say, oh,
Mhm.
yeah, if your blood pressure is too low, here's how you know. You start falling and fainting. What? You're going to wait all the way until you fall and faint, and that's how you know your blood pressure is too low? There's got to be other signs before that, right? So it's something that people need to have a educated conversation about with their doctor. Not everyone should be on a ton of medications as they get older. That's not a requirement as we
Right.
get older. I just want people to know is as you get older, oh no, you don't just have to take meds, right? There are other ways to be
Yeah.
healthy.
Start
Right,
counting the
start
pills.
counting the pills, right? The average American takes between 5 to 10 different medications by the time they're 50. It's crazy.
Wow. It's
Mhm.
crazy. All right. Okay. Well, definitely a good conversation today, Dr. Tam. And for our viewers, we hope that we answered your questions. And if you have any more, please go ahead and comment below so that we can go ahead and create another video which answers your questions. This is a very good practice, don't you
Yeah, this
think?
is great. I love it. Thank you, Rocky.
It's very
Yeah.
interactive. All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tam, and see you
All
again
right.
in the
See you
next
soon.
one.